Yeah, hello all. In this particular video, I'm actually going to talk about why do sometimes actually people actually struggle even though they have umpteen agile certifications in the market. It actually could be CSM, PSM, CSPO, ICP, ACC, Safe Agilist. It could be a like a SPC, whatever be the certifications which we all generally know that are actually floating in the market, and also in actually much of the JDs which are actually coming out from the reputed companies. Okay, so last week I was actually having a conversation with one of my mentee. This particular person had completed somewhere close to 5 or 6 agile certifications like CSM, PSM, CSPO, ICP, ACC, and also recently completed Safe Agilist. But then, no, what happens is that both from an interview point of view and also from a real-time implementation point of view, what we learn in the certifications is actually sometimes slightly different from what we actually do in the real-time play field of the real-time play field. Okay, so let us take one by one, and whatever thoughts come to my mind, I just thought to share this particular video. So before I get into the crux of this particular video, let me actually put a disclaimer that this video is actually not about saying that you actually should not do any certifications. That is not the purpose of this particular video. If you take me, I myself have 13 agile certifications. The purpose of this video is to analyze what could be the potential gaps in my own competency or capabilities which the market demands as on date, and what are the capabilities or competencies given by the certifications. Can I do something from my end to actually plug that gap? Okay, that is the intent of this particular video. So I am in actually no way suggesting in this particular video don't go and do any certifications, because we all know that if you don't have the preliminary certifications, you will not get called from the job market. Means first of all your profile need to be shortlisted, right? Then comes the second stage of you getting shortlisted and then getting an offer letter. Okay, so let us go one by one. So if you take some of the some of the frameworks like Scrum, it actually talks about the product backlog, and we also know the ceremonies what we do, all those things in, like in terms of the product backlog and refinement, the planning of the sprint, the daily stand up, the sprint review, demo, and the retrospective. Now what happens in a real-time industry? Does the work really start only from the product backlog? Absolutely no. There is always a virtual container, and there is always a virtual container which you can call it as a demand backlog, or no, you can call it as an opportunity backlog, which is to the left of the product backlog. So what happens is that when you do some certifications like PSM and CSM and PSM, those certifications do not talk about what lies to the left of the product backlog. Similarly, those certifications do not talk about how does your code is getting promoted till the production deployment or the go live. It will be maximum talking about what actually happens within the 2 weeks of the that particular time box or a iteration. So the point what I'm trying to say is, even if you take some framework like safe actually gives a prescriptive way of actually creating a portfolio backlog, solution backlog, the program backlog at actually appropriate constructs. But the point what we need to keep in mind is those particular backlogs are not ready in the real-time industry. You need to make it ready. What you see in the diagram, if you go to scaledagileframework.com, that is the ideal state or the final version of the evolved framework. But in a real-time situation, you need to make sure that a portfolio backlog is actually getting created, program backlog is getting created, and a team level backlog, which we call as a product backlog, is also getting created. So that is one of the lacuna or one of the gap I see in terms of the certification knowledge and the real-time industry. Okay, now let us take one more pointer which actually comes to my mind. Certifications do not generally talk about the capabilities to build customized agile framework. See, if you take me, I have built a framework called a CAF, which is called customized agile framework, and also I have built a framework called a BAF, which is called a business agility framework. When I created those particular frameworks for some of my clients, I have taken inputs or references from lot of sources. I have literally referred to minimum 50-60 case studies of actually agile transformation, which has been done by multiple clients, and based on my 12 and a half years experience in agile, and based on my 20 years of experience in IT, I have actually took the best practices of lot of sources, and then I have created a customized or a contextualized framework. So, in my experience, generally certifications do not talk about anything on what are all the capabilities, what are all the competency, what could be the potential approach, so as to create a customized agile framework. Okay, let me actually give a particular example. Okay, now if you take some frameworks like Spotify, based on my experience, let's say for one of our client, we have taken the team level agility and to some extent the program layer agility based on this Spotify framework, because Spotify has the concept of a squad, tribe, guild, chapter, all those things. However, Spotify do not have anything at a portfolio level, right? So what we have done is, I have taken the best practices from SAFe in terms of the lean portfolio management concepts, and then I have taken the Spotify model, and then I have suffused it into a customable framework as per the ecosystem of that particular client. So what is that I am trying to say is, I have taken the portfolio level from the SAFe construct, and then I have tagged it to the multi-tribe level, so as to capture the requirement. So what is that I am actually trying to say is, certification is just the beginning of the journey. Certification will explore the possibilities to expand your horizons of thinking. Certification is more like reading the index page of the book, but you still need to read the entire book chapter by chapter, right? So like, it is not going to give you a complete knowledge if you just read only the index page of the book. So what I generally tell to my mentees who are actually part of my agile mentorship program is, certification is more like having a hall ticket for the exam, whereas your real-time experience and capabilities are more like the mark sheet, right? So you write an exam, and after the process you actually get your marks printed on the mark sheet. But for you to be for you to call as a deemed fit to sit for the exam, you still need a hall ticket. So unless and until you have a basic certifications, it is very difficult to get interview calls, because the client is also expecting some of the basic certification. So please go ahead and then do the certification as per the relevance of your context. But all that I'm trying to say is, don't think that by just doing a CSM or a PSM or a SAFe Agilist you can really master that particular framework. And then sometimes I actually get puzzled, right, when some people talk, right, like when people say when I do a certification, I also wanted a real-time experience from the trainer. But do you think, honestly, real-time experience is something that you can just gain it like this by spending a weekend for CSM, PSM? So what is that I'm actually trying to say is, yes, you can definitely learn something from the experience of the certification trainer, which I never deny. But learning something doesn't mean you possess the capability right away, right? You still need to go it and then experiment it on your project. So what is that I'm trying to say is, one need a structured learning program if you are really keen on improving your capabilities and competencies. Real-time capability building is not a weekend activity like going and sitting for 16 hours for a CSM exam, or spending 16 hours for SAFe Agilist and then claiming to be master of the framework. Because once you start really implementing the concepts, whatever you have learned in the certification, then you will try to understand, okay, these are all the gaps, these are all the areas where I need to start start improving, because the real improvement starts for any person for that matter, okay, including myself, only when the person realizes his level of ignorance. Unless and until someone realizes the level of ignorance, one can't even begin the journey of improvement. Okay, so this is something which you need to keep in mind. So go ahead and do the certification. If your company is willing to sponsor it, well and good. Or if you are actually going to do the certification on your own, understand the intent behind the certification. Read the certification, right? For example, what are all the chapters, what are all the topics which are covered in the certification, whether those topics make relevance as per the existing JD of the job market. You may need to do a preliminary analysis, and then you can actually zero in on what are all the certifications that you wanted to do. Okay, so coming back to this particular example, right, wherein I actually discussed about taking the Spotify framework, and then actually taking the lean portfolio management kind of a construct from the SAFe, and then creating a customized framework. So what is that we have actually generally done is we have taken the portfolio layer, and then we have mapped it to the initiatives, and then I have taken the tribe and then mapped it to the epics, and then you take your team level squad, the squad or the pod, okay, whatever you call, and then you actually tag it to the user story. So when I actually did this, I had some challenges in terms of how to map that particular agile model requirements in the Jira and the Confluence whenever I have actually taken a customized Spotty Safe model. So what is that we have done? I have taken the tribe and then I have mapped it to a Jira project level. I have taken the squad and then I have mapped it to the task board level. And then I have taken the release roadmap and then I have tagged it to the set of epics over the timeline. Then I went for the business roadmap and then I have tagged it to the set of initiatives over the time. And also I have focused on the releases and then I have tagged it to the fixed version. And when you actually talk about the content hierarchy, I have leveraged the Confluence aspect. So if I want to cut a long story short, sometimes certifications do not give you the capability to build customized solutions, contextualized capabilities, because it needs some kind of connecting the dots kind of an expertise or a capability. Say for example, in this particular Spotty Safe requirement framework, what is that I was trying to do? I had also mapped it to Jira and on the Confluence, and then we have leveraged the Excel plugin with Jira, and then we have went up to the level of creating a release level conceptualization using something called as script runner functions, SCRIPT, okay, using something called as script runner functions. So these are all some of the things which has been really needed in a real time like in a real time industry in terms of some of the capabilities. Okay, now let me tell one more area which generally certification is not going to cover by and large. Let's say for example, you have done a certification on RTE. Let's say you have completed a safe RTE certification. So you know in and out, at least from a theoretical level, at least from a conceptual level, you know in and out what has been done by a RTE using the framework called as SAFe. Now let's say you have been deployed deployed as an RTE in actually one of the data migration projects. Now let us take this situation. If you are working in a data migration project, do you think that only your safe knowledge is going to really help up to pick up the rhythm in the landscape? Absolutely no. Because always understand one thing, we are not going to do generic coaching in a real-time industry. All your coaching need to be customized. Your coaching need to be contextualized. Your coaching need to be personalized fundamentally to the basic needs of the ecosystem from the project. So for example, okay, I'm just giving an example here, okay, based on your context, you may need to customize it. Say for example, when I actually worked as an RTE in one of the data migration kind of an engagement, I actually really literally started to understand, okay, what do you mean by a data lakes setup? What do you mean by a data acquisition activity? How do you build a core data platform? Okay, by the way, what is your data platform objective and how to do with this particular ETL and the connectors, right? And then what is the data governance? And we also had something called the MDM, which is called the metadata management. And what do you mean by a data operations, data assurance, data extraction, followed by data fabric, data no. So what is that I'm trying to say is, you take your safe knowledge, but then try to understand the ecosystem and try to get a grip on the ecosystem as soon as possible. If you don't get a grip on the ecosystem, believe me, much of the scrum masters can only open the bridge line and then close the bridge line for the call. Means you cannot contribute as a value add during the middle of the call in terms of the ecosystem of the project, right? So what is that I am trying to say is, of course, focusing on certification is one part. The capability to learn things fast. What do you need to do to pick up things fast? That actually matters a lot rather than certification X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E. Okay. So I think these are all some of the things which you need to keep in mind. Okay. Now the one more point what I like to say is, sometimes solutions are outside the boundary of the framework. Means what? If I'm using a Scrum framework, if I'm using a Kanban framework, or if I'm using a Nexus framework, or if I'm using a scaled Agile framework, sometimes don't expect framework to solve all the problems under the sun, because sometimes solutions may exist outside the boundary of the framework. So sometimes you may need to wear the hat of a Agile project manager, Agile program manager. So you may need to play different user personas to find solution to the problem, because solutions sometimes exist outside the boundary of the framework. And one more important point, Agile is not a silver bullet to solve all the problems under the sun. Okay, because you have implemented Agile, or because you have used a framework called Scrum, Kanban, Nexus, Spotify, Safe, or whatever be the framework, because in market we have so many frameworks, market has been flooded with the frameworks and market has been flooded with the certifications. The only point what I am trying to say is, don't even, okay, forget about the framework, don't even expect Agile is as a silver bullet to solve all problems under the sun. Some problems cannot be solved by Agile. You may need to take some other approaches or some other things. So don't expect that just by doing an Agile transformation, if you think that all the problems can be solved, then believe me, transformation itself is going to become one more problem for you. So we need to have a broader we need to have a open mindset to explore sometimes the solutions even beyond the context or boundaries of framework and Agile. That is what I was actually trying to tell. Okay, now let me tell few more areas. Let's say a guy has joined the project. Let's say a guy has completed a CSM or a PSM or a Safe Agilist or whatever be the certification. Some of the people who are working as a business analyst tend to do CSPO, PSPO, because if you take my journey somewhere in 2010, 11, 12 time frame, I have completed a series of certifications. So I know what does a certification generally give and what does a certification cannot give by and large. Okay, now the point is, let's say, okay, I'm actually repeating certain points in this video. It actually means that specific point is of a paramount importance. Okay, let's say that you have completed your CSM and a Safe Agilist, and then you have joined as a Scrum Master in one of the engagement. Now, what are all the competencies needed? First of all, you need to have a solid Agile process knowledge. Of course, your CSM certification is going to give you to some extent. Second thing, when you are actually making conversation with your technical leads or with your architect, at least you need to speak the language of them from a technical point of view. For example, DevOps, CI/CD pipeline, Jenkins, like your Ansible script, your pom.xml, and your and your bit bucket. So at least you need to know the vocabulary of the technical people, so that when you make conversation with them, it doesn't appear Greek and Latin for you. Then the third thing what you need to keep in mind is, what is the domain? Because a BFSI domain is something different from a healthcare domain, and a healthcare domain is something different from an automobile manufacturing domain. So at least you need to have some knowledge on what is this particular domain about. Of course, the business value maximizer is the product owner, but you need to coach your product owner also, right? So unless and until you know some elements of the domain, it will be very difficult to have impactful conversations with that particular product owner. Because if you want to make an impactful conversation in any aspect of life, you need to speak the language of the other person. If you speak the language of you, I don't think things will actually work out, right? Okay, now one is the agile process knowledge, second is the technical knowledge, and third is the domain. If it is a BFSI domain, you need to know at least to some extent what is the difference between a investment banking and a personal banking. Okay, I'm just giving an example. Okay, so these are all some of the things. Now, what is even more paramount importance is, what is the project all about? What are we trying to do in this particular engagement or the project? What is the tech stack being used? How many applications are getting impacted as part of this particular engagement? Those particular details you also need to know. So like, I think if you prepare on all these areas, whatever I have told, it is not only about clearing an offer and grabbing an offer letter. You can even deliver value wherever you are going. It is not about survival. I am actually talking about flourishing and thriving in the industry. Because to actually survive, I think 1 or 2 certifications, and then you can keep going that part. I am speaking in this particular video because I wanted to add value to others' life in terms of how to flourish or how to thrive in this particular VUCA world, using your capabilities or competencies. Okay, now one more thing let me tell. For example, if you are doing safe certifications, right? It could be safe Agilist, it could be safe POPM, it could be safe Scrum Master, or it could be a scaled program consultant. Some of the trainers whom I have seen actually use the same vocabulary which has been used in the framework. They are not giving real-time examples to make the trainee to understand what is this concept. For example, strategic theme. They actually again and again tell strategic theme is going to connect the portfolio vision to the enterprise vision. That's fine. But what is that? For example, hyper automation, microservices enabled deployment model, cloud enabled services, factory of tomorrow, which is actually a R&D, and run and protect, funding existing core services, reimaging the mature products and platform. These are all some of the real-time examples of a strategic theme. Means what? Microservices enabled deployment model means I am going to fund those particular initiatives which is going to take the route of microservices enabled deployment model as part of my quarterly priority, as a subset of this particular value stream derivation. Because only funded epics or sub-epic, because sub-epic is a term used in rally. I have worked extensively on rallies, so I also tend to use the same term. So epics and sub-epics are the building blocks. Now, unless and until a epic or a sub-epic has been funded, it is not going to enter inside your product road mapping. And why it will be funded? Because it is going to add envisaged business value, because generally business value is always an envisaged one, because we are going to talk about a futuristic aspect. So unless and until it's part of my strategic theme, so we need to have some real-time examples like cloud enabled services. Like that, if you understand and then read, then strategic theme makes more relevance. Of course, the concept is correct. When you do a certification, yes, my strategic theme is going to connect my portfolio vision, which has been placed at a portfolio layer construct, which is going to take care of the development value streams to the overall enterprise. But then but then how? Can you give me a real-time example? So if I want to paraphrase this particular video, let me tell once again the point what I wanted to tell, say is, in this video I am not saying people don't do certifications. Do certifications, understanding the purpose behind why are you doing, what are you doing. Because someone else in your neighborhood or one of your colleague or one of your friend completed a particular certification does not mean that you also rush into that process. Because because no, I had that kind of a mentality somewhere in 2011-12 time frame. No, I'm actually talking about somewhere 9 to 10 years back. Whenever a particular agile certification comes in the market, I was literally crazy behind it. Okay, I don't mind whether my company is going to sponsor it or not. Okay, I used to take my personal finance and then I will fund and then do the certification. But what is that I have realized after a point in time is, yes, doing certifications to some extent is actually fine, but keep on adding more certifications sometimes may not add real time value to you. Okay, so if you are interested to connect with me to have a conversation on actually agile, or if you wanted to connect with me to discuss any of your real time challenges in terms of preparing for an interview or executing a real time transformation, I will be dropping my WhatsApp number like in the description or in the comment section of this particular video. And I also run a program called Agile Mentorship program, wherein I really give my 20 years of real-time experience to my mentees. Okay, like actually based on the lesson plan, they actually sign up with me. I have a diversified lesson plan targeted, which has been created to add value to diversified target groups. I have a lesson plan for Scrum Master, Team Level Agile Coach. I do have a lesson plan for a Enterprise Agile Coach. I do have a lesson plan even for Agile Practice Head, wherein I have taken the cream of my executive MBA knowledge and my Agile experience, and then I have blended it with my Agile, with my advanced strategic management program certification from a Indian Institute of Management, IIM Kozhikode. And then I also have a lesson plan for a product owner and product manager, project manager, program manager, portfolio manager. So if in case you have any kind of a real-time challenges, please do feel free to connect with me. Let me see what is the best value that we can derive by actually mutually working together. Okay, all the best, and actually hope to see you soon in some other video. Okay, cheers, good luck, bye.